Good morning, and welcome to KZSC News, local news from the Monterey Bay. On today's show, a continued look at the status of immigrants in the country, President Trump's lack of funding for the early earthquake warning system, and SUA's meeting with Chancellor George Blumenthal and Executive Vice Chancellor Marlene Tromp.
After 4 failed attempts to reach a deal on DACA in Congress last week, the country's immigrant community remains in limbo. Warning that the country is heading down a white nationalist nativist path, immigrant rights advocates are issuing a call to action after the Senate rejected all 4 proposals to change U.S. immigration policy, and a second federal court found President Donald Trump's Muslim ban unconstitutional. Samira Hafiz from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center is among those who spoke out at a telebriefing sponsored by Ready California, a collaborative cross-sector effort led by the Resource Center.
We've all learned to expect the unexpected, and the reason that we're here is because of Trump and his decision in September to rescind the DACA program and throw the lives of close to 800,000 young people into chaos and uncertainty.
Hafiz points out that any DACA proposals may also include eliminating the diversity visa program, severely curtailing this family immigration program, and expansive border enforcement measures. Angelica Salas, director of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, agreed that what is underway is an attack on legal immigration itself, which she called a white nationalist agenda whereby certain individuals are not qualified to come into the United States based on their country of birth and their religion.
We're destroying people's lives. We ended the Central American Minors Program, which basically was an ability for parents here to safeguard the life of their children by seeking refugee status. We're separating immigrant children from their parents in detention, seeking to end diversity visas, and obviously the list goes on.
Zahir Belou, executive director of the San Francisco Bay Area chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations and a civil rights attorney, hailed the decision by the Fourth Circuit, which joined a chorus of courts across the country that have said the Muslim ban is unconstitutional. Nevertheless, she says there is more work to be done.
The call in our community and among allies is to be clear that just because this administration or the courts make something legal does not mean that we should not fight it, does not mean that it is not un-American, and does not mean that it is not hurting families. We have a long road ahead.
The African Advocacy Network also is highlighting the impact of the removal of temporary protective status on the African immigrant community, specifically immigrants from nations including Sudan and Sierra Leone who no longer are offered TPS status. The story was based on original reporting from Stephanie Carson for Ethnic Media Services.
The Trump administration's budget, which begins on October 1st, requested about $13 million less for the federal government's earthquake hazards program. This includes $10.2 million for the Earthquake Early Warning Program. The administration also proposed reducing staff for the U.S. Geological Survey Earthquake Hazards Program from 240 to 222, which includes 15 positions that staff the Earthquake Early Warning Program. The U.S. Department of the Interior, which oversees the USGS, said in its budget justification that the reduction in the earthquake hazard program was proposed as a way to address higher priorities. This marks the second consecutive budget that the Trump administration has proposed to offer no funds to the earthquake early warning system. Congress blocked Trump's proposal to end development of the early warning system from the administration's first proposed budget. The USGS has been working on an earthquake early warning system for years, but the system remains short on funds. It is estimated that the system will cost at least $38 million to build for the West Coast and $16 million annually to operate and maintain. Despite the costs, the U.S. Geological Survey has said it plans to begin limited public alerts of the early warning system by the end of this year, as long as funding isn't cut. Southern California is one area where the network of seismic sensors is dense enough to begin early warnings. For the system to go live in the West Coast, more sensors are required to be built and installed in areas like Washington, Oregon, and sparsely populated areas of Northern California. The early earthquake warning system is already making a huge difference in places like Oaxaca, which, on Friday, experienced a 7.2 magnitude earthquake that shook the state south of Mexico City. The alert gave residents a crucial 30 to 60 seconds to prepare themselves.
On On Tuesday, February 20th, the University of California, Santa Cruz's Student Union Assembly welcomed Chancellor of the University George Blumenthal and Executive Vice Chancellor Marlene Tromp to an SUA meeting for a question and answer session about topics important to the UC and surrounding Santa Cruz community.
Can you respond to the increased enrollment requirements imposed by the UC? Are you advocating for or against this as leaders of our university, and how?
We are full. I don't think anyone here needs to doubt that. As a campus, we are full. We don't have more housing. Our classrooms are already over full. We simply don't have the capacity to take on more students with the current infrastructure that we have. We need more classrooms. Our classrooms are already crowded. Just a year ago, we increased the number of classes in a day in our scheduling to try to accommodate more students. We are basically full, so there is no room for enrollment growth at the present time. We don't have room to house students either. Yes, we are building Student Housing West, and that will relieve the housing situation on the campus and in the community as well. But right now, today, for next year, we don't have capacity. And yet, as you alluded to, there is a real push from the state of California to increase enrollments on the campuses. And that is the dilemma. Our enrollments have increased over the last few years. That is a system-wide state mandate that we do so. That isn't something we have a choice over. But we have now reached a point where we cannot grow any further without additional facilities in order to accommodate that growth. So yes, that's certainly my position. It's my position that I take here on campus, and it's my position that I've taken in the system as well. If resources come, if we're able to build more, if we're able to do more, then we can accommodate more students. But right now, I don't think we have that capacity.
So UCSC has claimed to be a, quote, sanctuary campus, but how will you actively ensure that ICE as well as the FBI are not allowed on campus?
We've given orders to our police department that they are not to cooperate with immigration authorities, with ICE. If ICE wishes to come on campus to make immigration raids, we will provide no cooperation for that. We have stated that we will provide no records to immigration authorities with regard to the immigration status of our students, faculty, or staff. So we really feel very strongly that we want in no way to cooperate with, and we want to actively do what we can to impede any such activities on our campus.
How are you creating a more accessible campus for Disability Resource Center or DRC students, specifically with more transportation, enforcement of DRC accommodations that staff need to follow, and housing accommodations?
So as I said to Catherine earlier, one of the things we're looking at is we're taking a more comprehensive look about how we're addressing the disability issues on our campus, from both physical disability issues to other kinds of disability issues. I'm still too soft, excuse me. And so we are taking a look at this right now, trying to take a comprehensive picture and understand better how to serve the needs of our students. And that's a very complex issue because it's academics, and I believe firmly that when a student has a DRC accommodation, that the faculty must support that accommodation. And so that's something I'm deeply committed to. And we're striving to find ways to provide the sorts of resources that will help all of our students have the full benefits of their educational experience.
You share an understanding of the state's divestment from an under-resourcing of the UC. It is clear that you see the ways in which cuts and lack of funding impact all levels of our campus, from faculty salaries to students' basic needs and survival. In what specific ways can you use your positions of power to advocate for those changes which are out of students' control but affect us so deeply? How can you put pressure on your superiors or other decision makers who leave your hands tied to constructively address these issues?
That's a great question. Thank you. There has been a state disinvestment, and it affects all of us. It affects our students who don't get the services that they need. They don't get as many faculty teaching them as they need. It affects our staff and faculty who don't get the salaries that they deserve because compared to the marketplace. So it's a great question. I need help. I need help from students. I need help from faculty and staff and others. I think this has to be a collective effort where we work together to make the message clear in Sacramento that not just UC Santa Cruz, but the UC system And not just the UC system, but also the entirety of the CSU system is underfunded and needs to be appropriately funded for the future of California, because it's the future that counts, and it's the students who are being educated here and at other UCs and at the CSU system that provide, these are the first generation students, these are the students who might be otherwise underserved by higher education, and so the important role of the public mission is something we need to communicate. Thank you for the reminder.
I'm Daniel Martinez.
And I'm Jordan Penland with KZSC News, local news from the Monterey Bay.